Most drawed fixture in Premier League history. It's a draw again. Manchester United won, Chelsea won in what can only be described as not the most riveting of games, not the most exciting games. Genuinely want to put my hands up, maybe apologise to the neutral fan, because there's no chance that fixture should be called Super Sunday. That's for sure. There wasn't much super going on with that fixture. But let's go into it. Let's break it down, because us United fans interested to see how Ruud van Nistelrooy does in these couple of games that he has in the Premier League to play around with. So, we saw him in the Cup against Leicester, and the big thing about it was, obviously, United hadn't scored 5 goals in all of Ten Hag's 3 years at the club. And we did that under Ruud van Nistelrooy in his first time of asking. How would that translate against a proper big team? Chelsea vying for top 4 this season with a lot of momentum during the season. You know, they feel like they're trying to hit. They've hit something. They found something. They've hit a lick. Enzo Maresca's cooking right now. That's what they believe, Chelsea fans. So that was the battle. That was the task for Ruud van Nistelrooy. What are you going to do to change the way Manchester United was playing? What is the difference between Ten Hag ball and Ruud van Nistelrooy ball? That is what we're going to be talking about. Analysing the game, bit of a breakdown, some highlights of some player performances as well we'll be talking about, and also looking to the future in our next couple of Premier League games. Before we get into it, guys, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of the good stuff. Keep supporting the channel. I'm humbled by the fact that we hit 3K subscribers. That is a big achievement, a big milestone that I'm humbled by. Keep showing love, keep supporting, do all that good stuff, and let's get into the video. So, as we are aware, those Chelsea fans that we do have watching here, Chelsea have been shaping up. When we look at when Reece James has come back in their previous game in the Premier League, which they won against Newcastle, they've been building up in this back three. Would they have Wesley Fofana as the right centre half, Levi Colwill as the centre half, and Reece James as the left centre back. And that has provided a lot of opportunities for Reece James to be cutting in and finding passes, some brilliant passes that he did in this game as well. Also got caught out a couple of times as well. I felt like he could have done better at. Levi Colwill's passing is just so beautiful to look at. I feel like there's definitely a case for saying that anything that a left footer does is just consistently better than a right footer. It just looks nicer, looks cleaner. Because some of the passes that he was finding into Palmer to his feet just looked so nice. They played their double pivot, Caicedo and Lavia. Enzo Fernandez obviously was in the headlines over the week, obviously because he played the cup game against Newcastle and not the league game. And when Enzo Maresca was asked about it, he spoke about the strengths in which Caicedo and Lavia have that Enzo doesn't have. Enzo Fernandez, I'm sure he's a talented player for sure. I don't think that can be doubted. But does he have the right level of intensity or ground covering and effort to be playing in the Premier League? That is yet to be seen. Moving on towards the final 5 or the top 5, because they do build up in this 3-2-4-1/3-2-5 shape that they do. Their wingers hold the width in Pedro Neto and Noni Madueke. They have Nicholas Jackson and Palmer close to each other, so they can obviously try and keep their good partnership going along. And Malo Gusto, who is going to be a big talking point in this first half, was in this right half space kind of area. Manchester United, obviously, and Robert Sanchez in goal. For Manchester United, the 4-2-4/4-4-2 shape that Ten Hag has been doing. Ruud obviously is not going to bring in a whole new system. He's only in here for a couple of games. Onana in goal. We had Dalot right back and Mazraoui left back, which is one of the details which was looked at towards the game. Mazraoui is a joke. It's a brilliant performance from him. We had a centre-back partnership of De Ligt and Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro and Ugarte in midfield. Had Garnacho on the right-hand side, Rashford on the left-hand side with Bruno and Højlund in the front too. This was a bit of an interesting tactical setup and a tactical battle, because to answer the first question that I said that we would answer, what is the difference between Ruud and Ten Hag ball? What Ruud does differently is that he won't tell this front line to engage and play as highly Ten Hag might have done, which then causes a lot of space to be created centrally. So if Chelsea are building in their back three, United won't go full on man-to-man in situations like this. That's the bit of a difference with Ruud van Nistelrooy. He wanted them to sit more in a bit of a low block, mid-block 4-2-4, which meant that we didn't really jump up too often. And some United fans would argue, is that really the right way to be playing at home against a big 6 team? You could argue it's not, but at the same time what it allowed us is to try and turn that Chelsea backline. And we didn't do that enough, in all honesty. But that clearly was the plan from Ruud van Nistelrooy. And I appreciated the plan. I think it was a tweaked system of the way Ten Hag plays, but with a bit more thought to it, with a bit more, less recklessness to the play. But yeah, I felt Chelsea, the main thing for them in that first half, because the first half was a bit of a weird one. United had the best chance of the game, and it came with the last kick of the half, which was the ball from Bruno out to the back post, where Rashford found himself on the right-hand side in that moment and hit the crossbar with the first-time side for volley at the back post. That was probably the best chance of the game. Chelsea were playing through the middle third really well. This 3-2 shape were finding holes in Man United's mid-block press. They were able to find them. And Casemiro and Ugarte had the headache of having to worry about Gusto and Palmer while also not allowing Caicedo and Lavia to breathe. So at times when Bruno and Højlund had to be in here, at times they would have been baited by the press, and these players would be found. And they were able to find these passes so well. But in that final third, it wasn't clicking for Chelsea. Something was missing. It just wasn't working for whatever reason. Whenever that ball got to the right-hand side, the person who had probably Chelsea's biggest opportunities in that first half was Malo Gusto, with his underlaps that he made, underlapping runs that Noni Madueke found him for, but was getting so easily either marked by the runners or getting blocked by a covering centre-half. So it was frustrating, I'm sure, from a Chelsea fan's perspective, if they look at it and they say, this is not really fully working out. We have somewhat control over the middle third of the pitch, but we're not really creating any clear-cut chances. Manchester United always are going to feel like they are a threat on the counter-attack with the likes of Rashford and Garnacho and Bruno Fernandes being in the team. But that didn't really fully click for United either. Going on to the second half, I really respected Enzo Fernandez for this move, is that he saw that Malo Gusto was getting into very, very good positions, but wasn't really affecting the game and was quite poor in some of his actions, so decided to make the switch to Marc Cucurella. And the main change was Cucurella did Gusto's job out here. So Cucurella came on as a left back here. Cole Palmer moved more to the right-hand side, and Colwill moved here to left centre-back, Fofana centre-half, and Reece James, obviously now playing at right-back because Cucurella's on the pitch, went into that area here. Again, Chelsea, I feel as though they're a well-coached team. You know, they have an idea of the way that they want to play. This 3-2-4-1 shape that they go for is regimented, it's structured, you see how they want to do it. But I just felt as though, for whatever reason, they weren't penetrative to Manchester United's defence, which is a defence that, if we're in all honesty, I think United fans can admit as well, can be got at. But unfortunately, in the Chelsea fan perspective, they didn't. From a United fan perspective, they battled so well. Casemiro and Ugarte are both not players that I'm fans of. I think everyone's aware of that at this point. I don't think I need to hark on about that too much. You're not going to get from them control of the game. You're not really get from them covering of ground. What you're going to get from them, though, is really good counter-pressing situations. And those moments I spoke about earlier, when Reece James is passing inside and making mistakes here, or Caicedo or Lavia are trying to play here with their 3-2, Casemiro and Ugarte at times were really good at jumping and forcing a counter-press and forcing a turnover, in which United didn't actually take advantage of that in most cases, because that was probably where they would have got most joy from. Towards the 60th, 70th minute of the game, before the changes came for Chelsea, a brilliant ball from Casemiro over the top to Rasmus Højlund, which was he controlled down and got an extra touch off, and Robert Sanchez ended up impeding him for the penalty that Manchester United ended up getting. But they didn't hold that lead for much longer, as there was a set piece and the ball ended at the edge of the box for Moises Caicedo to finish expertly with a volley. I think he's only scored 2 Premier League goals in his career. One for Brighton against Man United, and one for Chelsea against Man United as well. It was a really well taken finish as well. It was an interesting battle. Obviously, there was a lot of, the reason why I apologized early in the video is because there wasn't lots of quality in the midfield. The passing was a bit wayward at times, but I also have to credit the counter-pressing from both teams. Both teams were setting traps for the other and ensuring that they would win the ball in the middle third of the pitch. Something definitely was missing for Chelsea that they need to figure out and see what they're missing. I felt as though Cole Palmer got into these pockets at times and was hesitating and trying to find a fake to look for spaces or look for a decision to open up. And I think he could have maybe played the simple pass into Neto a bit more often and leave him isolated one-on-one. Mazraoui, I must say, was brilliant. I'm going to sound like I'm going a bit ahead of myself here at this point in time, but such a complete fullback. Can play right back, can play left back, is brilliant and so multifaceted in the first phase with his technical ability. Also finds intricate spaces in the final third and is impacting the game in the final third. So technically secure. I genuinely think he's one of the best fullbacks in the league. I know the sample size is small, but I only believe that it's high standard for him that he will actually live up to. I thought he was fantastic. Bruno was Bruno. One of the biggest tasks for Ruben Amorim, and I did tweet this as well during the game. I do live tweets throughout the game. So if you guys want to follow me on my Twitter, please feel free to as well. But I tweeted during the game one of Ruben Amorim's biggest tasks is taking away creative burden of Bruno Fernandes, because I feel at this point in time we look to Bruno to create, and that chance of Rashford at the back post in that end of the first half that I was talking about is caused from Bruno, and he has the ability to do that. But I feel like the onus is on Bruno to create more than anyone else in the squad, and Ruben Amorim has to find a way to take that creative burden away from him and find other ways of creating chances other than Bruno Fernandes alone. Another point in the difference between Ruud ball and Ten Hag ball is the effort from the wingers. Like, obviously, it almost feels, it kind of leads into maybe that there was a breakdown of trust between players and manager towards the end, because the amount that these guys were working back and doubling up and finding situations to help their teammates in Rashford and Garnacho, it was fantastic to watch throughout the game. Maybe a point of criticism for Ruud van Nistelrooy is I cannot for the life of me understand why Rashford keeps getting benched ahead of Garnacho. I think Rashford, there was one really early chance where he looked really bright on the left-hand side, and then he started moving into different zones on the pitch, which didn't really make sense to me. I felt he should hold the width on that left-hand side, and I think Ruben Amorim has found the player that he needs to be playing in that left 10 for him in his front three, eventually when he gets to the club. But other than that, it was obviously, there was lack of quality in midfield for sure. It could have been a higher quality game from both teams, but it was an interesting tactical battle on how to combat this 3-2-5 shape that a lot of teams are going to play in the league. Evidently, mid-block and hard-working wingers are the main two differences between the way Ruud van Nistelrooy set up this Manchester United team and the way Erik ten Hag set up that United team. They're a bit more committed to it, appreciating that they are in a situation where maybe they can't be full, expansive against a team like Chelsea at this point at home, given the current context of the situation. So they adapted, and obviously with the injuries, no Kobbie Mainoo, no Eriksen, they're not really going to get creativity from midfield. So yeah, listen, I think Ruud has got a future in coaching. Whether that means that he's going to be staying as an assistant manager under Ruben Amorim, I'm not sure. I don't know what the future holds for him in that sense. But I must say, he did a good job of trying to combat Enzo Maresca's 3-2-5. Funnily enough, the two played with each other at Malaga, funnily enough. And Willy Caballero, who's also now part of Chelsea staff, also played in that same team. So Willy Caballero, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Enzo Maresca and all played with each other at Malaga many, many years ago, and now find themselves against each other in the dugout. But other than that, I think Højlund needs to try and find the same wavelength as his wingers. It was a tough game for Xerxes to come onto again. I feel as though Xerxes, he needs to be wary of joining that group of players that, do you have the right intensity to play in the Premier League? Like, I mean, Enzo Fernandez, Jadon Sancho, I think, is one of them. And Xerxes might be another, where you're quite clearly a good footballer. Your technical level is there for sure. You make good decisions on the football pitch, that's not a doubt. But is your intensity and physical level good enough to be competing in the Premier League? That is yet to be seen. But the future is bright for Ruud van Nistelrooy, I believe. And I think that Manchester United are going to be in good hands with Ruben Amorim, and the slight profile changes you see in the players and where they're picking up spaces. And you think straight away, can they impact the game? Mazraoui, maybe as a left wing back for Ruben Amorim, could work because he really played well high up the pitch from left back today. All of these things, I'm sure, will be questions that we get a lot more answers to when Ruben Amorim is through the door against Ipswich, will be his first game, I believe. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. And I'll catch you guys next time on Abs Talks Ball.